Hello and welcome to episode 428 of the official EstablishTheRun.com podcast. My name is Adam Levitan, as always joined by Evan Silva. We are just 9 short days away from real live NFL football, which means we are 9 short days away from playing DFS and playing props, which means I am pushing the full 3.9. Evan, it's almost time. How's it going?
Good. I'm 1 day away from getting my eyesight back. If you're watching this or if you watched our stream last night with Drew Dinkmeyer, if you see me like squinting to see what's on the computer, I ran out of contacts. I thought I had another box, but I ran out of contacts. I haven't had the eye exam in like 3 years. So I got to go get that tomorrow, but I can't wait. I can't even drive. I'm just like Ubering everywhere. But yeah, if you see me squinting, that's the reason why.
Tough times to be alive.
Anyway, the struggle is very real.
On today's show, we're going to go over the news of the last week. We have preseason week 3 to go over. We have some trades. We have some cuts. We have some injuries. We will get to it all. Before we get into it, important announcement. Our in-season player prop subscription is now live on EstablishTheRun.com. I repeat, our in-season player prop subscription is now live on the site. I want to be very clear. This is totally separate from our fantasy subscription this season. Props are completely one-off, a la carte, no part of any other package. There's been an insane amount of people ask me about props, and really it's enough already. But I get it. You know, everyone saw our record the last few years. This is a really, really niche product, though, and you'll want to read the details for yourself to see if it makes sense for you. So head to the site to learn more. We have a big FAQ up about props on the site. I tweeted it, and you can find it on the site under the About section or under the betting section. Also, note this podcast is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. This absurd $2 million to first, $1 million to second place fantasy tournament continues to run $25 buy-in. If you use promo code ETR when you sign up, they will match your first deposit up to $100. It's really an insane contest. Great practice for drafting for your home league and for trying to win some money as well. So Underdog Fantasy, promo code ETR for up to $100 in free entries. All right, Evan, let's get to the news here. And we got to start with kind of a sad story or a very sad story. Brian Robinson, victim of some type of robbery attempt, gets shot twice, once in the glute and once in the leg. We're recording this on Tuesday, August 30th. And there's actually some rumors out there now on Tuesday, August 30th, that Brian Robinson injuries are actually not as severe and maybe he'll be back this season. You know, my guess was 10, 12 weeks was the best case scenario. That's the way I'm playing it in drafts. Obviously, this is really sad, Evan, but we're here to talk fantasy and any fallout from that. So how did you move the rankings in the wake of Brian Robinson's unfortunate incident?
Yeah, the Brian Robinson thing is just so freaking sad. He was a player that some people had sort of like counted out like a luxury pick. He goes to camp, straight up beats out Antonio Gibson, who was a pretty high pick a couple years ago, playing great, you know, moving up fantasy rankings. Like he got to the point where he wasn't even a sleeper anymore. Like he was like a legit good pick in the middle rounds, and these asshole carjackers, you know, they took so much away from him. You know, it looks like he's not going to lose his career. That's awesome. But I mean, he's going to lose a lot of the stuff that he worked for heading into this season. And I was morally conflicted about moving him down the freaking fantasy rankings. You know, like the dude literally just got shot. He did nothing wrong. You know, he's trying to fight off his attackers. And, but I mean, you know, eventually I have to move him down. And I took him out of the top 150. Antonio Gibson was, I believe, at RB 45, pretty much had him buried, but he's back in the mix as now he's the middle round pick, you know, at RB 27. Washington may add another back. There's going to be a lot of movement, you know, with these cuts last year. 27 players were claimed on waivers, and there's going to be more cuts after the players get claimed on waivers. But I think that Antonio Gibson is back in the driver's seat to be the Commanders' starting running back, and he's once again very, very, very draftable.
Yeah, my take on Antonio Gibson is that if he starts steaming up into the 60s, into the 70s, I'm probably lower on Evan than him. I think the Washington football team has told us what they think about Antonio Gibson. They don't want to use him on pass downs. You know, they don't want to use him in short yardage. You know, they got Brian Robinson for that. And so he fumbles a lot and they bench him. And now he's their kick returner. Like, it's just, I think a lot of bad things for Antonio Gibson, even though obviously opportunity is good. Brian Robinson could be back sooner than we think also. And Washington could sign someone. So I'm not going out of my way for Antonio Gibson. I'm actually curious what you think about JD McKissic, Evan, because I do think this raises both his floor and ceiling a little bit more. Like Brian Robinson wasn't a stone zero in the past game. And you know, JD McKissic's a guy you can get like after, like significantly after Nyheim Hines. And I think he gives you kind of a similar profile and maybe a bit more floor ceiling combo. So I did move JD McKissic up personally. What do you think about him?
I considered moving him up. I did not, but I still may. I kind of want to see just what happens with all these cuts. Cuts are happening as we speak right now. There was actually just a trade. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got traded from the Saints to the Eagles, I believe. Pretty good slot corner. Doesn't really move the needle, obviously, in fantasy. But he's a guy that I'll be talking about in the matchups column. He's a really good slot corner. But with J.D. McKissic, to me, he's just, he has a specified role. He's a niche player, and therefore I'm just not sure how much it helps him. Yep. It certainly doesn't hurt. And I mean, I can be convinced. I mean, I think he's a better draft pick now, though. Yeah, I mean, I should probably move him up. I mean, let's be real. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to San Francisco stuff. So a bit of a surprise, I think. Jimmy Garoppolo is back with San Francisco on this renegotiated contract to make him the highest paid backup quarterback in the league. It's just weird if they were going to bring him back. Like, they didn't even let him around the team this entire offseason. I mean, he hasn't been around the 49ers since they were eliminated from the playoffs. Last year, he hasn't been in the building. He hasn't been working with the team, anything. Obviously, Trey Lance remains the starter. The takeaway for me was that the leash on Trey Lance got shorter here, but it doesn't change Trey Lance's upside case at all. The concern, though, and I'm curious what you think about this, Evan, is maybe they made it a priority to bring back Jimmy G because they didn't love what they were seeing out of Trey Lance in practice. Is that possible? So what do you think about Trey Lance now in the wake of Jimmy G coming back?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play very well in their final preseason game either. I think it's a big red flag. I mean, did they get spooked and make this move to make sure they're bringing back Jimmy G? At first, I was thinking, hey, maybe they are bringing down his contract and made it like a much more straightforward contract in an effort to try to trade him. But no, they made this with the intention of keeping him, and that's scary for Trey Lance. Like, they know that they can win football games with Jimmy Garoppolo. They know that Jimmy Garoppolo can execute the 49ers offensive system, Kyle Shanahan's system. And I mean, if things start to go south with Trey Lance, like after the first couple games, that Kyle Shanahan's going to think about it.
Yeah. I've certainly backed off Lance's ranking a little bit. I still like him. And in scenarios where I'm just going for all upside, like, you were screwed anyways if Trey Lance played bad enough to get benched for Jimmy G. But in scenarios where I was expecting him to be able to play through some struggles, I've certainly backed off him. And that's like best ball and stuff like that. He's less likely now to be the starter for all 17 games than he was before. Let's go to some preseason stuff here. Dameon Pierce does it again. 12 of the first snaps, 10 of them go to Dameon Pierce. I did notice that on that first drive that Dameon Pierce started, they did get into 1/3 and long, and Rex Burkhead came in. But it's also worth noting that Marlon Mack and Royce Freeman didn't come in until Pierce was already resting. Evan's been vocal about how he feels about Dameon Pierce. I don't think there was anything to change that, but we do have to note that the pass down work may not be Dameon Pierce's to start the year. I don't know if there's anything else to say on Dameon Pierce stuff, Evan.
Yeah, we've talked about him quite a bit. We've been talking about him since the early offseason. I think he can play in the passing game. So he showed that he could at Florida, albeit in a limited sample size. But he was really, really impressive as a runner. They, sat him as a 4th round rookie in the preseason. I mean, he just showed him a lot.
Yeah.
And his little cut ups from the preseason. I mean, the dude can absolutely play. We know that the offensive environment is not ideal. And he may lose the passing down work early in the season to Rex Burkhead. And that's the reason that he's shouldn't go any higher than like the 5th or 6th round. But I mean, I think that he belongs in that range at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of similar to me to David Montgomery. I don't know who you prefer between David Montgomery and Dameon Pierce, but two really bad teams. I think Dameon Pierce maybe has a slight talent edge on David Montgomery. I don't know. People could argue that. But yeah, what do you think about like something like Montgomery versus Pierce?
I like that comparison. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. All right. Kansas City. Backfield roles appear set to me. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to be the starter and the early down feature back. Jerick McKinnon is going to be their pass down specialist. Isaiah Pacheco is going to be the kick returner and a backup to CH on early downs. And then we should also note today, it was reported that Ronald Jones has made the team. So they're going to go with 4 backs. I guess maybe not that surprising that they found room for 4 backs considering how weak this room is. I think Rojo making the team is a blow to Isaiah Pacheco. I've certainly been lower than marking on Pacheco as he's gained a lot of steam here. It's just so rare for 7th round rookies to have a big impact. But I think Ronald Jones making the team is just like not great for Pacheco at all. Obviously, Ronald Jones won't play on any pass downs. I think McKinnon actually has like the safest role. But anyways, what do you think of the Chiefs stuff and anything on Rojo making the team?
No, I like McKinnon a lot as a pick right now. I think that Pacheco is draftable late. You're absolutely right. I mean, you remember we did the one draft, he went 702. Like that was ridiculous. Okay. But I think double-digit rounds, he's got a lot of upside still. With Rojo, the rosters aren't set, so we'll see. Sometimes, teams will, especially if they've gotten like trade inquiries about certain guys, like they'll hang on to them through final cuts, try to get a 6th or 7th round pick. But I mean, Rojo is technically, the best pure runner on the team. It's just he's like completely incompetent in the passing game. I don't know. We still got 11, 12 days till the first Sunday. So, but I don't know. We'll see. There's going to be a decent amount of movement left.
Yeah, and I also think that the Rojo making the team, assuming he sticks, would not be great for CEH. As Evan said, like you can make a good case Ronald Jones is better between the tackles runner than CEH, and that's the role that CEH has right now. Is that like early down role, and I don't think CEH has like any type of vice grip on that whatsoever. Let's go to the Najee Harris stuff. So it's so weird, man. Like how can, with the way NFL is covered today, how can Najee Harris have a Lisfranc sprain and no one knows about it until he talks about it 4 weeks later? Like it just makes no sense to me, but that's what happened. Najee Harris plays on Sunday and then he plays in the preseason game on Sunday, then reveals he hadn't been playing much the last month because he had a Lisfranc sprain. The fact they allowed him to play in the preseason game 3, though, makes me think that this is not something to worry about. However, Evan, you did move him from RB8 to RB10 in your rankings. Where you at on Najee?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like him as a pick very much in the first place. So, I hear anything about, an injury concerning a guy who had 301 touches last year and is projected for another monster workload, although I don't think he's going to catch nearly as many passes, and plays in a bad offense and one of the worst offensive lines in the league. The offensive line is terrible in the preseason. Any kind of injury concern for that type of player, like I want to further detach myself from that. Yep. So, and I think that Jaylen Warren is a really nice sleeper. Their undrafted rookie who won the number 2 running back job. And no one really has even heard of him. Honestly, I hadn't heard of him until a couple weeks ago. So I think he's a guy to take at the very, very back end of drafts. And for me, like Najee Harris is almost a total fade.
Yeah. I've been taking Saquon over Najee lately. And so,
I mean, that was an easy one for me when I was looking at my rankings. Like I definitely am taking Saquon over Najee Harris. So that was an easy move. I just dropped him from RB8 to RB10. Saquon's ahead of him now.
Speaking of the Giants, this wide receiver situation, Kadarius Toney, it's like a continuation of last year. Dude just can't get on the field. I mean, he's barely practiced for the entire training camp due to some soft tissue issue that he's having. I think he's going to be okay for week 1, but it's just a little bit scary on Kadarius Toney. I put a note in Perfect Draft if you guys can go check the update in there. And also Kenny Galladay, like dude just looks like he's totally dusted out there. They can't move on from him though because of money stuff, and they lost Colin Johnson, and so they're like actually finished now. I think they need Sterling Shepard to get healthy, but you did move Wan'Dale Robinson up from wide receiver 60 to wide receiver 53 on some of this news. Where you at with the Giants wide receivers?
Yeah, I mean, the more you look at it, it's like, could Wan'Dale Robinson lead this team in receptions? I don't know if I moved him up high enough. He is a second round rookie, 5'7", but he's got a boatload of opportunity right now. And I mean, he was very quick to lock in that slot receiver job. He's going to run high percentage routes. I think he's like an intriguing, again, double-digit round pick, early double-digit rounds.
Yep, he's been one of my favorite flyers, and you guys can see that article on the site as well. He's been one of my favorite flyers throughout this entire process. I mean, we're going back like 2 or 3 months. I've been taking Wan'Dale, Danny Dime stacks, so hopefully it works out. I do think he has the potential to lead the team in catches, especially if Sterling Shepard can't get healthy. Speaking of guys who can't get healthy, Sony Michel was cut from the Dolphins. I don't think there was any big moves here because we kind of already anticipated that, but I know some people around Twitter and stuff were reacting like this is huge news for Chase Edmonds and Raheem Mostert. I think we expected one of these guys to get cut, and so we always thought it was going to be Edmonds in the base back plus role and Mostert in the between the tackles role. Certainly gives them a little bit more stability, but I don't think any big rankings changes. What do you think about Uncle Sony getting cut?
Yeah, I mean, you remember we had Nick Underhill on, and he told us that Sony Michel went to the Saints. They checked him out, and they failed him on his physical. That's not surprising because Sony Michel has been failing physicals since he entered the NFL. Yeah. He's got like busted knees, degenerative knee condition. So it wasn't surprising, like in the least. and it didn't move the needle at all for me.
Breaking news into the show. I know we already talked about Dameon Pierce. Surprise cut out of Houston. Marlon Mack has been cut by the Houston Texans as we speak here. It is 2:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday. And so I already mentioned that Marlon Mack didn't even get into the game until Dameon Pierce had already been rested. I think they'll go with Royce Freeman as the backup to Dameon Pierce now. And also, we talk about Cam Akers, we talk about some of these other guys. I mean, Marlon Mack had Achilles and just never the same. I mean, just totally dusted, couldn't get on the field last year, and now gets cut by the Texans. So a little bit more stability there maybe for Dameon Pierce.
Yeah. And a little bit more capitulation here from Leone.
Let's go to some snap count stuff on the Jets. So it looks like Joe Flacco, at least Joe Flacco for now, is running with the one for the Jets. Joe Flacco played 21 snaps in the preseason finale. Michael Carter started. Michael Carter, 12 snaps, 2 of the 5 third downs. Breece Hall, 9 snaps, 3 of the 5 third downs. So, I think this has been the way it's been reported. This has been the way it's been in the preseason. Michael Carter is going to start, but they're both going to play. I still expect Breece Hall to take over eventually, but you can get Michael Carter in like the 12th round sometimes, 13th round. And I mean, he's like an actual starting running back who plays well in the pass game and has juice. So Michael Carter for sure is a great late round flyer, and he takes on Breece, Carter, anything else.
They also cut Tevin Coleman, creating a little bit more clarity in that backfield. And yeah, I'm with you. Michael Carter, excellent late round pick. Breece Hall has probably been going way too early. This is still an offense that you can't really trust. I mean, I hate to say it, but I would rather have, if I was like, if I owned like, or if I had Jets receivers, I would rather have Joe Flacco out there than Zach Wilson at this point.
Joe Flacco's been playing well, and I agree with that. I still like to take shots on Breece Hall when he goes like late round 4, round 5, which I think he might start slipping to. Just close your eyes and bet on talent and draft capital. But yeah, I hear you. It does not look great for Breece Hall as a round 3 or early round 4 pick right now. Speaking of the Jets, I don't know if you're worried at all about Garrett Wilson. I mean, in his 21 Flacco snaps, it was Elijah Moore 19, Corey Davis 17, Braxton Berrios 11, and Garrett Wilson only 4. I don't want to panic on Garrett Wilson, a talented dude who has incredibly high draft capital, but it's a little bit worrisome. Have you thought about moving Garrett Wilson down at all or no?
If you're using the rankings right now, you're not going to get him anyways. Or I mean, he's low. I mean, and he's been going low in drafts.
Yep.
He's just not a priority. I don't really like anybody on the Jets right now at this point. You can make a case for Elijah Moore, but he always goes earlier than I'm willing to take him. Yeah. We did take Corey Davis last night in the on the 17th or something like that. 16th round, yeah. So that's kind of where we're at. I mean, there's a bunch of receivers here that can play. They're probably going to open the season playing 4 receivers, like a 4 receiver rotation. They've got, again, 2-3 tight ends that they can play, 2 running backs. Probably not going to score very many points. Like it's, I don't like the situation at all.
Yep. Okay. Speaking of good situations, I mean, being the Bucs running back is so valuable. You get all the checkdowns from Brady. You're in the red zone so much. They run around the goal line. Leonard Fournette, all 11 snaps. Tom Brady played 11 snaps as he returned to the team for preseason game 3. Leonard Fournette was in for all 11. Then Rachaad White came in. Then Keyshawn Vaughn. Gio Bernard's been hurt, but Gio Bernard did make the team, at least initially, which I think is not great for Rachaad White. But the Leonard Fournette stuff looks really good. I mean, I'm fine taking him late round 2. I know he typically goes early round 3, but I've been fine taking Leonard Fournette late round 2. Anything to add on Bucs running backs now that we know Gio is on the team?
No, I agree with everything you just said.
I know I already mentioned David Montgomery. I think there's a lot of Khalil Herbert hype from like the tape bros. I'm not sure the Bears agree with the tape bros on Khalil Herbert because, I mean, they're still trying out David Montgomery. David Montgomery started 20 of the first 22 snaps went to David Montgomery. Khalil Herbert got the other 2 as just like a breather back option. I mean, David Montgomery, you can get in like round 6 or round 7. I don't like doing it in redraft because I'm looking for more ceiling, but in like the best ball stuff, I've been taking David Montgomery, or I'm willing to take David Montgomery like round 6 and 7. I mean, it's just crazy. The dude is going to get the ball 15, 16, 17 times in the 6th or 7th round. You just can't find that anywhere else. But yeah, from a redraft perspective, I still don't like David Montgomery, but I do think he's really far ahead of Khalil Herbert right now. Any thoughts on him?
Still really just, I don't want him, I mean, it's Justin Fields really isn't a check down quarterback. So I think his pass catching upside is limited. The offensive line is terrible. And I know that it's funny. around here, I live like just right outside of the city, and like people ask me, because they love the Bears. Hey, how do you think the Bears are going to be? They're undefeated in the preseason. And I'm like, man, they're going to be awful. I mean, they're going to get boat raced week in and week out. They're bad on defense. They're not going to be able to stop the run. Their secondary's terrible. And it's going to be an adventure for Justin Fields. And it's going to be ugly a lot of times. And there will be some spectacular moments, but this is not a team situation at all that I would want to invest in. It does look like he's going to be an every down back. So I guess that you can sell yourself on him. I don't want him though.
Yeah, and that's why I pass on him in redraft. Yeah. I just think the ceiling is not there, but usable weeks for sure is there for David Montgomery, I think. Let's go to J.K. Dobbins. A lot of speculation that isn't great around J.K. Dobbins. He's not ready for full work yet. He might not even be ready to play week 1. Then they go out and they sign Kenyan Drake. We know Gus Edwards is already out on IR to start the year. Like I said before, man, I know I was taking J.K. Dobbins in round 6 and 7. His ADP started getting to around 4 and 5, and I've been avoiding him there as a guy coming off a serious knee injury with a quarterback who doesn't throw to the running backs at a high rate. And also, he may never see a full workload all year. I mean, but you can see the upside case late in the year. And that's what's hard about doing rankings. Like to start the year, J.K. Dobbins is an egregiously bad 4th or 5th round pick. To end the year, I could see it more. And that's why it's hard to do rankings and stuff like that and try to encapsulate all that. I know, Evan, you've been lighter than most people, I think, on J.K. Dobbins for most of this process. Where you at on him now? Yeah,
the Kenyan Drake signing is a particular red flag. I mean, and the comments that John Harbaugh has made, he's just, if he'll be out there, it's like a bonus, basically, in week 1. I don't think he's going to play week 1 just based on the comments from John Harbaugh. And this signing is another red flag. I'm with you. You could actually get him like at the 7-8 turn.
Yeah.
Sometimes at one point in the offseason, and like I'm kind of bad. I'm not taking him anymore.
Yeah. It's tough. I think a mistake that a lot of people make is overrating week 1. And so like we've said, hey, it's October or it's November. Where do you want J.K. Dobbins now? That's like a way different conversation. And that's when it's most important also. So that's why it's hard. But I do want to warn people not to overrate week 1, but it definitely doesn't look great on J.K. Dobbins in September.
He's a bench player right now in redraft. And I think he makes a little bit more sense in best ball for the reasons that you stated.
Yep. I'm excited about Mo Alie-Cox. I'm more excited than Evan about Mo Alie-Cox. Mo Alie-Cox has played 29 out of 33 snaps with Matt Ryan this preseason. Dude is just a freak athlete. I don't think that they're in love with Kyle Granson or Jelani Woods at all right now. And so Mo Alie is going to play like every snap with very limited target competition. And he has this big time red zone role. And he just breaks the PSM. And he played basketball formerly, which we know is the stereotype for successful NFL tight ends. So I take Mo Alie-Cox a lot with my last round pick. I mean, there's a lot of leagues he doesn't even go drafted. So I still like him. I have, I think taking shots on him in DFS is interesting as a total punt. What do you think about Mo Alie, Evan? Am I too excited?
No, I love Mo Alie-Cox, and I hope that you're right. And I think I totally agree with you. He's an awesome last round pick. I think he's a great pick in tight end premium FFPC. He's going to be out there a ton. They have played him a lot in previous seasons because they trust him as a blocker. They just never called plays for him as a pass catcher.
Well, Jack Doyle was there. Yeah. Right. Now, will they start to call plays for him in the passing game? That would be awesome. I mean, it wouldn't be crazy if he scored like 9 touchdowns. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I'm with you, man. He even said that, like, a reporter asked him, like, what type of stuff he's doing. And he's like, yeah, I'm running some more routes now. And the reporter was like, oh, is it more the Jack Doyle stuff? And he was like, yeah, it's more the Jack Doyle stuff. So I'm optimistic, man.
Good.
Speaking of optimistic.
I hope you're right. Yeah. He's always been a stud in yards per route run.
Yeah. Speaking of optimistic at tight end, I mean, David Njoku, 30 out of 33 snaps with Jacoby Brissett in the preseason finale, 39 out of 42 first-string snaps for the preseason for David Njoku. We know he got the massive contract, the eye-popping contract a few months ago. They clearly like him. To me, of these like back-end, tight end, punt types that have upside, Njoku is clearly the preferred pick. Like I prefer Njoku over Gesicki, over Mo Alie, over Brevin Jordan, who we'll get to next year. But yeah, I think Njoku has like a real chance to be solid. What do you think about him right now?
Yeah, and they're real thin at wide receiver in Cleveland. So they are very incentivized from a monetary standpoint, from a roster standpoint, to call a lot of plays to try to get the ball to David Njoku. So I'm totally with you on Josh Norris has been beating the drum for David Njoku as well. I mean, always been a hyper talent, and I think he's going to get the opportunity to really capitalize on it this year. The thing is that, how are we going to be able to trust the passing game? But I think that his target volume might just help compensate for the inefficiencies with Jacoby Brissett under center.
Yep, for sure. Last tight end, back end tight end I wanted to mention was Brevin Jordan, 58 out of 71 snaps with Davis Mills this preseason, 19 out of 20 third downs Brevin Jordan has been in for. He's run 40 routes this preseason versus 2 pass blocks. Obviously, like, Brevin Jordan is not likely to command a really high percentage of targets, but the upside is at least there. I should know Pharaoh Brown, who's going to be like their blocking tight end, didn't really play much in the preseason, hurt his hamstring, but is expected to be fine. But again, Brevin Jordan, much like Mo Alie, is one of these tight ends that I take late in deeper formats and hope. So I just wanted to put that out there on Brevin Jordan.
Well, you've always been the master of the shitty tight ends who, yeah. So I totally get it. I mean, this is right down your alley.
Yeah. He's like 3,100 on DK in week 1. If we can get like 2 catches and a touchdown, we're in business.
We're cooking.
Anyways.
Right. I get it.
Ty Montgomery thing we're watching closely. We don't really have an update on Ty Montgomery, but he hurt his ankle. It didn't look great. Status is unclear as of now. Patriots did cut JJ Taylor this morning, which I think is interesting because he's more of a pass down back also. So maybe Ty Mont will be okay. But if Ty Mont misses time, I mean, Rhamondre is just such a big beneficiary. And I do think that it helps Dameon Harris slightly as well, just kind of thinning out that backfield a little bit. So obviously we've been talking about Rhamondre the last feels like 6 months.
Yeah, we talk about him on every show.
Yeah, but the Ty Mont injury would certainly be good for Rhamondre, so we're watching that.
Yeah, and just to note, like, it just seems like Pierre Strong just never made a move in the backfield, and he's going to open the season as like a gunner on special teams.
Okay, Titan stuff. So I'm sure everybody saw the highlight of Malik Willis's ridiculous run. I mean, this dude is like Michael Vick out there as a runner. 159 rushing yards on 125 preseason snaps. I mean, that is absolutely insane. Now, I don't think Malik Willis is going to get on the field this year, but it's not impossible. Like, if the Titans are bad, they need to get a look at Malik Willis because Ryan Tannehill's contract makes it very hard to carry him next year unless he's actually very, very good. And so maybe they want to get a look at Malik Willis. I just want to put it out there that if Malik Willis does end up starting games, he's going to be a fantasy factor. The other Titans thing that I wanted to note was Robert Woods coming back from the ACL, 30 years old, did play in the preseason finale. He's on track to play in week 1. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine rested, but Treylon Burks did start opposite Robert Woods. Any takes, Evan, on what's going on with the Titans, Woods, Treylon, anything else?
It's just it's a funny game that we play because now I'm above ADP on Treylon Burks. I mean, I have him as the number 85 overall player. He's been going in the double-digit rounds at this point, 9th, 10th, 11th. I'm willing to draft him now. Earlier I didn't want to take him in the 6th, but I will definitely take him right now as my number 85 overall player. And I've been very close to taking him in several of the drafts that I've done over the last few days.
I gave my take on Treylon Burks in Market Monday. Hopefully you guys can listen to that yesterday. But, my take hasn't changed. He's going to play. He's going to play a lot. It might not be early. He might be a rotational player early, but he has to play a lot. I mean, he's first round pick. They have no other real wide receivers that threaten the defense. I mean, he's got to play a lot. I don't know how good he'll be, but he's going to play a lot eventually. Tyron Smith, we've talked about this a little bit. Tyron Smith is going to be out till December. Brandon dropped the Cowboys offensive line in his rankings from 6th to 20th. 6th to 20th on the Tyron Smith news. And so this made me a little bit more leery on Ezekiel Elliott. If you watched the draft last night, I pleaded not to take Ezekiel Elliott, although it's probably fine. We took him in at 5.02 in that 2,500. I mean, that's really late. But I do think the Tyron Smith thing is not great for the overall efficiency of Dallas's offense. Like, I think this offensive line injury actually matters. So does Brandon. Evan, the Ezekiel Elliott truther, where are you at now?
I mean, come on, just stop it. No, they drafted a left tackle in the first round, Tyler Smith. So, and he's raw. He actually led the nation in penalties last year. The Cowboys, it's funny because the Cowboys led the league in penalties, and their first round pick is the guy who, led the nation in penalties on the offensive line. He's going to have to play at left tackle. They've got some options at left guard. Connor McGovern, who's played in the league before, made starts, and then the rest of the line is okay. So look, 20th, we can work with that 20th overall offensive line, which is where Brandon dropped him.
Yeah.
It's obviously not ideal. There have been, it's almost you had to expect Tyron Smith to get hurt at some point, and that's why they had to go with an offensive lineman in the first round.
Yeah. A few more small things here before we wrap up. Noah Fant usage in the preseason was really bad. Only 5 out of 10 first team snaps. In the finale, Will Dissly played 7 snaps, and also throughout the preseason, Noah Fant was playing deep into games with like 3rd and 4th stringers. So, some of the guys that I already mentioned, that those back end tight ends, certainly Njoku, but also Mo Alie and Brevin, I actually prefer to Noah Fant right now. Basically, the only case you can make for Noah Fant right now is that he's a talented, really good, talented dude who's really athletic, and like full stop. That's like the only argument you can make for him. So I've been taking Noah Fant.
This team loves Will Dissly, gave him a real nice contract in the offseason. They want to run the ball. Will Dissly can block. Noah Fant really can't. And so actually, if you look at it from the team perspective, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Speaking of guys who have crashed and burned, Laviska Shenault actually got traded. Jaguars give up on Laviska Shenault, trade him to Carolina. My only thought here, I don't think it's too relevant for fantasy, but my only thought here is that I'm not sure how Carolina feels about Robbie Anderson. I've been hearing some stuff about Rashard Higgins or now they're getting Laviska. Like, I want to be in on Robbie Anderson as like a late round sleeper type, but I'm not sure he has any type of vice grip on the job. So that's the only thought that crossed through my mind on the Laviska trade. Any more thoughts on the Laviska Shenault to Panthers trade?
I don't have any big thoughts. The Robbie Anderson situation is interesting. I wouldn't mind seeing him somewhere else, but it just seems like kind of he got paid, and then that was kind of it for Robbie Anderson. He didn't show up last year. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah.
Speaking of trade rumors, Alexander Mattison trade rumors are out there. I don't know if they're going to come to fruition, but I thought it was at least notable because with the new staff coming in, maybe there was some concern that, hey, the new staff really likes Alexander Mattison and they want to not use Dalvin Cook in a workhorse role. Well, now that we know they're taking trade calls on him, maybe they don't feel that way. And so it makes me feel a little bit better about Dalvin. Alexander Mattison could help a lot of teams though. Like Alexander Mattison could help the Chargers.
Absolutely.
He could help the Ravens. I'm sure there's a bunch of other teams that he could help. What do you think about these Mattison rumors?
Yeah, one of the rumors that I saw, the Eagles, and they've been linked to a number of RBs. I've had to back off on Miles Sanders kind of because of it. They were linked to Kareem Hunt at one point. Alexander Mattison has been like one of the better tackle breaking backs in the league, really, over the last couple of years. His underlying metrics this past season were excellent. I think it was probably, and he's shown that he could play in the passing game, which he didn't do a ton of when he was in college. It's just, I think they like this kid, Ty Chandler, a lot. He made a lot of noise in the preseason. He's really fast. He's 5'11", 204 though. Alexander Mattison is like a 223-pound, stud. Ty Chandler is a very different kind of player. I don't know. We'll see. It's a new coaching staff in Minnesota, and then they have no ties to Alexander Mattison.
Yep, exactly. Last couple of small things. Kenny Gainwell was active for the preseason finale. Boston Scott rested. And so that was kind of similar to what we saw in preseason week 2, where Boston Scott started and Gainwell came into the game with the backups. But I do think there's distinct roles here. Like to me, Boston Scott is a direct backup to Miles Sanders, and Kenny Gainwell has like his own role. So Kenny Gainwell's going to play on the passing game. He's going to play in some change of pace stuff. Like Kenny Gainwell has his own role carved out, whereas Boston Scott is the direct backup to Miles Sanders. That's how I see it. We've been high on Gainwell through this whole process. I have not taken much Boston Scott at all. Any more thoughts on Eagles running backs?
Boston Scott is a veteran. The Eagles know exactly what they have in Boston Scott. Kenneth Gainwell is a second-year, ascending player. And so to me, it really didn't make sense for them in the first place to play Boston Scott in a game like that. And it did make sense for them to continue to give, Kenneth Gainwell live reps. So it makes all the sense in the world, and it doesn't move the needle.
All right. JaMychal Hasty was cut this morning. Now it looks like Trey Sermon's going to make the team. And I don't think that's great for the TDP shares, for the Tyrion Davis Price shares. Is Trey Sermon making the team here? I honestly don't know what to think behind Eli Mitchell. like between all these guys behind him, I honestly don't know what to think. We've kind of evened it up a bit between TDP and Sermon. I still slightly prefer TDP over Sermon just because Sermon flamed out so badly last year, but I think it's getting closer. Any thoughts on San Francisco backfield now that we know Jermichael Hasty is out and Trey Sermon is in?
Trey Sermon is just awful. I mean, he's god awful. Hayden Winks put together a little clip of all his preseason runs, and I don't think he beat first contact one time. And that's what he's supposed to do, like as like a bigger like power style back. It's brutal to watch. If you can go find it on Twitter, Hayden Winks put out the video. Go look at it. It's just the most unimpressive highlight reel you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, and I still prefer TDP. Team Watch the Tape sounds like they're on TDP also, and so it's just not great.
It may take a minute for TDP to even get an opportunity.
Yeah,
but also Elijah Mitchell's already hurt. So I'm still not convinced that Trey Sermon's going to be here when week 1 rolls around. We'll see.
Yeah, sounds like Eli Mitchell's going to be fine for week 1, but certainly been banged up yet again throughout this month has been Eli Mitchell. All right, that is going to do it. Maybe not, but if it is the last news podcast of the summer, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope you found it helpful. We will start shifting our attention to DFS next week. Great game of DFS. Or Percy Luke, I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.